You pressed play on a voice message you sent, and for a second, you didn't recognize who was talking. The voice was thinner, higher, flat somehow. You thought, is that really me? That feeling has a name, and the explanation behind it is one of the strangest things I've come across in a long time. Because what happened is not a glitch in your phone, it's not compression, and it's not the microphone. What happened is that you heard your voice the way everyone else hears it. And the version you've been listening to your whole life, that one is the lie. Here's what I couldn't shake when I first read about this. If the recording is accurate and your internal perception is distorted, what exactly is creating the version inside your head? Where does that richer, fuller sound come from? Hold that. The answer goes somewhere uncomfortable. When sound leaves your mouth and travels through the air to someone else's ears, it moves as a pressure wave. Eardrum, signal, brain. One path. But when you speak, you're listening through two paths simultaneously. The first is the same, air, eardrum, signal. The second runs through your skull. Your voice vibrates the bones of your jaw, your cheekbones, the temporal bone behind your ear. Those vibrations reach the inner ear directly, without going through the air at all. And bone conducts lower frequencies better than air. The warmth, the resonance, the weight, all of that gets amplified in the version that travels through your skeleton. Researchers at the University of Sheffield, in a study published in the Journal of the Acoustical Society of America in 2008, estimated that the bone-conducted signal boosts the low-frequency components of your perceived voice by 10 to 15 decibels, compared to what air alone carries. 10 to 15 decibels is not subtle. That's the difference between a sound you barely notice and one that fills the room. So the voice you've always thought of as yours is a blend. Your actual acoustic output plus a private bass boost that only you can hear. Nobody else gets that signal. It never leaves your body. The recording cuts the second channel completely. A microphone captures air pressure. Only air pressure. The bone-conducted signal doesn't exist for it. So when you play back a recording, you're hearing what your voice actually sounds like in the physical world, stripped of the internal routing that made it feel like yours. This is what I find hard to sit with. Most people assume the recording sounds wrong because something was lost in the technology. Microphones aren't perfect, compression, whatever. That's not what's happening. The recording is the most accurate physical document your voice has ever produced. It's your internal perception that has always been altered. You've been living with a version of your own voice that was enhanced specifically for you and no one else. Research on this phenomenon, researchers call it voice confrontation, shows that the vast majority of people, somewhere between 70 and 80%, according to work by Silke Pullman at the University of Essex, published in Frontiers in Psychology in 2015, rated their recorded voice as less warm and less attractive than the voice they heard from the inside. Not just different, worse. Specifically worse in exactly the ways the bone-conducted signal would predict. Less full, less resonant, less present. I find that number remarkable. 70 to 80% is not a quirk of a few self-conscious people. It's essentially everyone. Which means that almost every person alive is walking around with a private audio version of themselves that has never matched the version other people receive. That gap has been there since birth. It simply never had a way to announce itself until someone pressed play. The brain knows something is off. It just can't tell you what. Here's where it gets stranger. The brain doesn't passively receive your voice, it predicts it. Before the sound reaches your ears, your auditory cortex has already generated an internal model of what it expects to hear. Chris Frith at the Wellcome Trust Centre for Neuroimaging at University College London described this mechanism in Trends in Cognitive Sciences in 2001. The brain sends a copy of the motor command to the auditory system, so it can prepare and suppress what it already predicted. This is why you can't tickle yourself. It's also why your voice sounds muffled while you're speaking. The brain is discounting it before it arrives. That prediction is calibrated to the bone-conducted signal. It's been running that calibration your entire life. So when you hear a recording, the prediction fails. The brain expected warmth and got something thinner. The mismatch is real. The discomfort is not vanity. It's your auditory cortex reporting a genuine discrepancy between the expected and the actual. And now the question I couldn't let go of. Is there any way to hear your voice as others hear it, live, while you're speaking? Peter Hood and Michael Jordan at UC Berkeley showed in Science in 1998 that the auditory feedback loop corrects pitch errors in under 20 milliseconds. But that correction runs on the blended signal, bone plus air. There's no switch that isolates one channel from the other. The answer is no, not without hardware. In natural speech, the two channels are inseparable. Sunday, 3 in the afternoon. Someone asks you to record a short video, a birthday message, a voicemail, something that will exist outside this moment. You hesitate. You already know, somewhere, that you won't like what comes back. You speak anyway. You play it back. The voice coming out of the speaker is technically, physically, acoustically correct. Every researcher who has studied this agrees. The recording is accurate. Your reaction to it is the distortion, not the sound itself. What's happening in your biology is that your auditory cortex is receiving a signal it has no framework for. It has spent your entire life, from the first sounds you made as an infant, building a model of what you sound like. That model was always built on the blended signal. The bone conduction was there from the first cry. Every time you spoke in a quiet room and thought, yes, that's me. That was the private version. The one no one else was receiving. 40,000 years ago, a person spoke around a fire in what is now Southern Europe. They heard their own voice through their jaw and their temples and had no way of knowing the people around them heard something slightly different. No recordings, no playback. The gap existed. It simply went unexamined for the entire history of human speech, until someone invented a device that captures air pressure and plays it back. That device is about 150 years old. Human speech is at least 300,000 years old. Research from Université de Bordeaux, published in Neuroimage in 2014, used functional MRI to show that when people listen to recordings of their own voices, the brain processes them in regions associated with other people's voices, not the self. The recorded voice is, neurologically, a stranger. You've spent your life in an intimate relationship with a sound. You associate it with yourself more than almost anything else, more than your face in photographs, more than your name in someone else's mouth. It feels like the most interior thing there is, and it turns out that sound has a twin. The twin lives outside your body, travels through rooms and phone speakers and the air between you and other people. It's the one that has carried your words into the world for every conversation you've ever had. The voice that everyone in your life has ever heard you speak with. You have heard it exactly as many times as a stranger passing you on the street. Not once. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. We're already working on a new and exciting video for you.